This is Frederick Watts.
This is Jean Watts.
And
this is Love in 60 Seconds.
We have been married for over 20 years.
And in that time, we have learned a few things that we'd like to share with you.
So if you're single, newlyweds, or seasoned in marriage, we think you will enjoy the upcoming program.
Absolutely. And we want you to like, engage, share, and do all of those wonderful things that we do on Instagram, Facebook, and every other social media outlets. Send us DMs. We want to hear from you.
This is
Love
in 60 Seconds.
60 seconds. Love in 60 seconds.
Hey everybody, it's Frederick and Jean Watts, and this is Love in 60 Seconds.
Hello.
We hope that you guys are doing well as we're waiting for everybody to join us this evening. Hope that you had a great weekend.
All right. I'm trying to get myself together. We got a great topic tonight because it is something for sure that I need to be listening to myself. When I was studying it, I was like, whoa, I need this so bad this week.
So we appreciate you guys, tuning in, sharing and liking and following us on all our media platforms. And as always, we appreciate those that engage with us while we're live tonight. And if you're on Facebook, hit those hearts and likes and we can see your comments. Please engage with us. Always follow us, as always, during the week. We post content on Instagram at Wattsup Entertainment and on Facebook at Wattsup Entertainment, and then on YouTube as Wattsup Video for Love in 60 Seconds. We're looking forward to the night. We're looking forward to talking to you guys. So hit those hearts and likes, and we're going to get right into it while people are joining. I think our topic tonight is stop stressing me out. Stop stressing me out. And that's a good thing, a bad thing. Stress is never a good thing. So does that mean your spouse is stressing you out? Or does that mean the world is stressing you out, or the circumstances is COVID stressing you out? What's stressing you out, and how to make sure that doesn't affect your relationship, especially in a marriage. We appreciate everybody that's joining in. God bless you to the RoboShop family. And hey, it's always good to see you guys down in Texas. We appreciate you guys. Continue to like, share, and just engage with us tonight. We're going to get right into it. So what you want to talk about?
Well, we're talking about, stop stressing me out. And you talked about what those kind of things could mean, being stressed out. What does those things mean? It also means that you can be taking on the stress of your spouse, that you can take on some of the things that your spouse is carrying and be stressed out by those things.
Yeah.
So, that's something that, you can certainly consider when you're talking about, stop stressing me out. Yeah. But we're going to get into some real stuff, but that's kind of a light part of it that you can take on if your spouse is experiencing a lot of stress and you're a very empathetic person, and you are always engaged in how your spouse is feeling, then you can certainly take on their stress and their attributes of stress. And that can cause some problems though. So
the good news about that is, like you said, that there is sometimes stress in marriage, but when it's avoidable when both parties understand what's involved. I like what Taylor said. We'll bring her notes up, that she said, or her comment up, that when I tell my spouse that I'm under a lot of stress, he says, no, I'm under grace. And she loves him for that. What a great response.
That is a wonderful response.
You are under grace, which is true.
Yeah.
There's really nothing to really worry about and stress out, when you think about the big picture and how God loves us and his plan for us and how he provides for us.
Absolutely. I want to certainly say hello to Mother Earlene Drain, who is one of our wonderful supporters. We love her so, so much. And she's just tapped in for a brief minute tonight. We love her. We love you, Mother Drain, so much. And we're praying for you always. Also, different ones, April Dawn, different ones that are just kind of popping in. We thank you for popping in. So, we want to again talk about how can we navigate that if we're taking on the attributes of our spouse's stress or your spouse. We're talking about that part, but we're going to also talk about if your spouse is contributing to your stress, because that can be a thing too. That can be a thing too if you're not taking on your responsibilities, your load of what you need to be doing. Then you certainly are going to be a part of contributing to stress. But again, if you're an empathetic person, you're taking on your spouse's stress, you're taking on their things that they're feeling. And again, like, Taylor mentioned, which is going to kind of segue us into our first point and our first, I guess, tool that you can use to help avoid being stressed out or living under stress is, put your spouse first. In your relationship, that will help alleviate, I think, some of the stress that your spouse may be feeling. If you put them first, love them in their love languages, help them to accomplish what it is that they're trying to accomplish, and not add to their plate. Honey, if you want to give us some examples of how a person could put their spouse first.
Well, you put your spouse first. Sometimes it means having to control your own behavior. So it means having to make sure that you acknowledge that your spouse may have a need that you can provide.
Yeah.
And when you're able to give them something that you can provide, it may de-stress them in a situation. Yeah. And especially like, certain things you experience, like you just might have a stressful day. You had a stressful day today,
Yes,
sort of, and then just being as a spouse, being able to say, hey, we can get through this, or I hear, what you're going through, would you like to discuss it? Would you like to talk about it? Or just listening if you just choose to share with me.
Yeah.
And sometimes by putting your spouse first helps them to de-escalate a situation that may be stressful.
I also like when I am having a stressful day, even like today, you say things to me like, what can I do to help? Tell me what I can do to help. Is there anything I can do to help? And sometimes there are things that you can do to help, but then there's things sometimes that you can't do. You know what I mean? You just got to kind of pray for me or just try to be there and be supportive. But there are things that you might not be able to do to help with the stress. So, those things I do appreciate. That's huge. And that participation in that part of it is key in successfully helping your spouse deal with their stress. Now, the second thing is kind of like I guess a way to relieve the stress,
right?
And to alleviate the stress. Stress can be like terrible for your health. It can be terrible for your relationship, like you're relating, and it causes a lot of tension. Not only just between you and your spouse, but it could be between you and your children, can be with your parents, your coworkers. Stress can make you like mean, can make you act ugly.
It can change your personality, and like you said, with affecting your health, stress can cause health issues that you normally don't have.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It can affect your body. It can affect your mind. It can affect your sleep. When you don't get rest and you don't get a lot of things due to stress, it causes so many other issues.
Yeah.
And so you want to make sure that you remove that out of your life. One thing that just has helped me is that, I put my faith in God.
Yeah.
So there's a point in my life which I had to get to that, I believe that all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord.
Yeah.
So when I start feeling a high anxiety or high stress, I just rely on that, knowing that, it might be bad right now, or I might be having a bad experience or situation, but in the end game or at the end of it, I'm highly favored and it's going to work out for my good.
Absolutely. If it ain't good right now, that means that God is not done with it. So when he's done, when it's good, that's when he's done. You know what I mean? It's good when he says it's good. And it's done when he says it's good.
That's true.
So that's certainly something that we want to make sure that you take it in account of your faith and relying on the Spirit of God to help to relieve that stress and to be at peace, because stress will, like you said, rob you of your sleep.
Mhm.
It'll have you having all kinds of anxiety, and you could share that anxiety again within your relationship with your spouse, and that's just not something that you want to do.
True.
So the second thing we said, to have fun together.
Mm-hmm.
So have fun together, enjoying yourself. This is a stress reliever. Having fun, whatever it is that you do that to make you laugh, to make you smile, to make you relax. Do those things together to help relieve stress, so that you're not being stressed out from life, or stressed out by your spouse, adding stuff to your plate, or not helping, or not carrying their share of the load.
Because sometimes, so I guess as type in the next thing.
Okay, no worries.
What if your spouse is stressing you out? What is the way? How do you have fun together if they're the cause of your stress?
Let's ask our viewers.
But one thing is that when you have fun together, even if your spouse is causing that stress, it focuses the attention back to number one by putting your spouse first.
Yeah.
If you say, you know what, you are getting on my nerves, but instead of withdrawing
or clapping back,
I'm going to engage. Let's go take a walk. Let's go do something to get our minds off of the situation. And enjoy each other.
And it also goes back to communication. You have to communicate. If you feel like your spouse is stressing you out, you don't have to be like, you listen, you're stressing me out. And sometimes it gets to that, but you have to be like, hey, I need right now, if you could help to contribute to alleviate the stress that I'm feeling, or the anxiety that I'm feeling. If you do this, or if you respond to me in this way, then I will feel better about I'll feel better about where I am right now. You know what I'm saying? So making sure that you communicate to your spouse, because sometimes they can be annoying or doing something and they don't know that they're doing it.
Right,
so you have to let them know, but let them know in a kind and a loving way. It's the way you say anything that can make sure that you get your point across without being offensive.
Yep, and having fun together. I like how Taylor said, also just starting your day together in the Word of God and prayer. That creates the atmosphere for the rest of your day.
It does.
So, but if you get up, like they used to say, on the wrong side of the bed, that's going to affect how the rest of the day goes between your spouse, between your relationship, between your boss. All types of relationships. So you want to make sure that you are able to have fun together, but also making sure that you take what I would say, you want to make sure that you take the stress out by putting Christ in.
Absolutely. I feel like Taylor just looked at my notes before we got here, because she keeps segueing us into our next points. But that is good.
And also remember, if you're watching on Facebook, you got to be on Wattsup Entertainment page so that we can see your comment. If you're following Jean on her watch party, we can see your comments, but we can't put them up on the screen. So we love to share what you guys are thinking as well. So continue to engage with us. So when you're stressed out, you need to make sure that you are building together time in your schedule.
Absolutely.
And that sort of goes with
what Taylor just said about starting your day, within the Word of God and praying, but building time into your schedule. It shouldn't be, and this is really important, because it says on my notes here that, you don't want to have leftover time. And sometimes I say to my husband, he'll come in, and he will, show me attention or whatever. And then later, he'll go read something or, write something. He'll get on his computer, he'll go down his logbook and log his hours and do all kinds of stuff. And then he'll come and be like, hey, honey. And I'll be like, I'm going to sleep now because you put me last. You put me at the end of the day. You got to make sure that you're making sure that, and he doesn't do that all the time, but sometimes and I make sure I communicate to him, I'm going to sleep at that moment. But you want to make sure that you're sharing and that you're making time, specific time, for your spouse and in your relationship to make sure that, you're not making them feel like that they are getting the leftovers of your time.
And especially for younger couples, or I won't say younger couples, but couples that have not been married a long time and have young children,
Yeah.
make sure that you build time together outside of the children, because usually a spouse at some point in time is giving their attention to the children. They need the care, especially if both parents work.
Right.
One is dealing with them, the other one's working, but vice versa. And even during your family time, you're sharing time with your children, but you still need to be able to build that together time with just you and your spouse.
Yeah.
Because that's the foundation of making your relationship work. Asking the questions, are everything okay? Doting on them. Hey, I love you. I need you. You're important to me. Giving all the affection that they need, because what that do is that'll always take stress out of the equation.
Absolutely.
By spending time together and doting onto each other.
And then I'm going to also interject here. That was 3, but I'm going to say like 3B. And I'm making my own notes again. I'm adding that to myself. 3B. Right. No one can see my notes. But anyways, I'm writing 3B on my paper. But 3B would be to I guess to make sure that you are asking questions and I guess fostering transparency, or being an ear, being a listener. Because if you're not listening, if you're not asking questions and really not actively listening to your spouse and really not engaging, a lot of times somebody else may be listening to what it is they're saying. They may not be sharing with you now anymore, but they sharing with their coworker. They're sharing with Bob at the office, or they may be sharing with somebody of the opposite sex, which starts erroneous relationships. So you want to start making sure that you are engaging with your spouse, making sure that you are that ear, that you are the person that is their bestie. You are the person that they're listening to. And they know will listen to them. And I think that will be something that helps to alleviate stress, because sometimes some people just want to be heard. Just like today, I dealt with this really ignorant person, agent on the phone, actually 2 of them. And I was so outdone. Like, what in the world? Like, a super unprofessional. And I didn't expect my husband to, and he overheard the conversation. I didn't expect him to do anything, because I was going to handle it. Trust me, it's handled. I was going to do it, but he listened. He listened to what I had to say, and he listened to my experience. And so that helped me to feel better about that stress and about that moment, having to deal with it, and then having to deal with the consequences that I was going to have to handle or have to hand to them for their behavior and for their actions, because there are consequences.
Right. I like about what Carmen says about prioritizing your spouse and your relationship.
Yes.
That's very important, because, honestly, what happens in marriages, especially in the workplace, is that there's not enough of these answers. No, I'm married.
I know it. No.
Yes, my spouse will mind.
Yes. Yes, my spouse is gonna mind.
And no, we can't keep in touch.
No, you can't call me.
Yeah, I don't want to be your friend on Facebook.
Nope.
There's not enough of setting boundaries. There's
Right.
not enough of setting what we call like the fences
Yes.
that help and keep situations. So what that does is you're not being mean, because I believe in some people's personalities are just super friendly. They're friendly to a lot of people, but the boundaries is saying, well, even though, let me make sure that you understand where I'm coming from.
Absolutely.
And it's important, because that'll bring the stress into relationship.
Yes.
If you have even just been yourself and not have the intention, but have somebody else misread you, that can bring stress in.
Absolutely.
So being able to say certain things and say, hey, these are the boundaries, and I'm not afraid to share it or say it, because that's most important, which is my relationship, my marriage.
Absolutely. And then, I'm more afraid of my wife or my husband than you.
Right,
so, somebody outside of our fence, we don't care about you like that. But anyways, going to don't sweat the small stuff. Don't get overstressed about things that don't really matter. A lot of times people major on the minor. You can't major on the minor and live a low stress life. And you guys forgive me. I have these braces, so I'm lisping just a little bit. But you can't have a low stress life if you're majoring on the minor. If you're really focused on things that you cannot change or don't really matter, Don't give all of your energy to those things. Don't give all of your energies to that stress. And that means like even with your children, with your spouse, oh gosh, with your adult children, if you let them, they will stress you out.
Yeah.
Do not let them. Don't give your energy to that.
Right.
You gotta pray about it, leave it at the altar, have good conversations, and then use your tools to work those things out. Use your tools of communication, use your tools of prayer, use your tools of trusting God. Those things to help get through what you need to get through.
Right. And not sweating the small stuff is actually a way to make sure that you do not stress yourself out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of small stuff happens every day. It's just like, men, when we're driving, if somebody happens to cut us off, you can react a few ways. You can go past them and Lord help me, sometimes I need help with that. You can, or you can be like, oh, well, you cut me off and now I'm going to be a half a second delayed. It's such a small thing to do. But, when you sweat that and be like, that person's called me up, I got to get them back. And then when I pass them, I'm going to look at them real mean. And then they may not look, that just raises your blood pressure.
And that person ain't even thinking about you.
They're not even thinking
that person
about
listens to their radio.
Right. Didn't even understand, what they did. So, and when you let a lot of that into your life, that's definitely going to bring stress.
It is. It is. And that's a really, really good point. That's a small thing. Somebody cutting you off in traffic or, cutting you in the line at the grocery store, things like that. That kind of stress, a lot of times you can just take it and you can be extra. And especially like in my business, in real estate, oh my gosh, we have so many people that are just seedy people. And if I let it, that I could take that into my everyday. And that could really, cause me to have a bunch of issues because I'm dealing with all of this extra stress. But I'm, learning not to sweat the small stuff. Most things will be worked out because I pray at the beginning of my day, and we go from there.
So it's not just my hubby with road. We don't have road rage. It's just it's just the principle of things. I don't have road rage. I'm delivered from road. I don't have no rage. But it's just the principle of things.
Road. What is it? What's another word for rage? Let's see. Road upsetness. I don't know. No.
But there was a time when that would cause me to. It just would bother me. But now it doesn't stress me out. Now. If I'm leaving late because my wife don't get in the car on time, then I'm gonna drive a little faster.
Which never happens.
Yeah, telling stories. Like we said, don't sweat the small stuff because the small stuff will stress you out.
Absolutely. And this is one of my favorite things that I was thinking about when we were just chatting about this and transcribing notes. And it's find a way to give back together. And like, even when we're doing this is one of our ways that we give back together. It's, we share with couples that may not have been married as long as we have, or may not have gone through some of the things that we have, or may not be in the stage of marriage that we are in. And we try to share as many tools for whomever will listen. We get a lot more people that listen after the fact or that contact us offline. And I don't know why that is. People I can just listen to the thing where everything will be good. But a lot of times we just have people that contact us offline, which is completely fine. But we do want to share the tools that we have to get the measure of success, at least that we have. And I think we have an organic and we have an authentic relationship. I don't know, tell me if I'm telling the truth. Okay, or I'm telling the truth. All right. That we have a real relationship. And I really honestly truly feel like I can say anything to my husband, anything to you that is concerning me, anything that I feel fearful about, or anything that but I feel like I can say anything to you. I feel like we're there in our relationship and our communication, that I can say whatever it is. And not have to filter or hold back, but I do know how to talk to you in a way of respect. And I know how to talk to you in the way of honor that you're deserving of. And even if you have days where you're not deserving of that honor, I know enough about relationship to give honor so that he rises to the occasion. Give honor, ladies and gentlemen, so that your spouse will rise to the occasion. If you always speak negatively, and I don't know why I'm segueing here, but if you always speak negatively about your spouse or to your spouse and be like, oh, well, you just a old fish-eyed fool, or you just you so lazy, or you get on my nerves, or you stressing me out. You stress me out all the time. Gosh, if you're saying that kind of stuff to your spouse, what are you speaking over them? What are you speaking over there? I do not tell my husband, we made a pact. We don't call each other out of our names. We have never done that. In our marital relationship, we do not be like, you a dummy, or you're a jerk, or, you're stupid, or you ignorant, you lazy. We do not call each other, and certainly not any horrible names, but we don't call each other out of our names, because that's a place of respect. Once you cross that line, it's hard to come back from it.
And then as believers, we believe that there's life and death in the power of the tongue. So if I'm calling you something which you're not, and especially if I'm the priest of the home, then I'm speaking that into you.
Absolutely.
So, I didn't marry a stupid woman. I didn't marry an unattractive woman. I didn't marry a mean woman, all those things. Right. So why would I call you that? Because what that is doing is that's speaking those things over you. Absolutely. If I had that authority. Absolutely. And then, we talked about the roles of the woman and the man. And if a woman is speaking those things into a man's character, that's going to cause him to be those things that you are speaking. Yes. And so you have to watch what you say.
And whatever it is that you want to see. My husband, and like I said, and this is segueing because we're talking about giving back together, but we're giving back right now. We're doing our part. But my husband, when we first got married, I had way more money than he had. I had more money, better credit, had a better car, had a better apartment. But I spoke over him, even spiritually, what I wanted to see in him. And I called him, wealthy, and we're not there yet still, but I continue to call him that. I'm like, oh gosh, my husband's a millionaire. I don't have to never work if I don't never want to. You know what I'm saying? I don't have to do it. I can buy whatever I want to, wherever I want to, whenever I want to. Yeah. I speak it over him and into him. And he's a great man of God, which he is. But, I continually speak it to him, because just because he's a great man of God today, he could be a love nut tomorrow. But I'm not speaking that over him. I'm speaking that he will continue to grow in the grace of God, and that he will be a man of value. He will be a Psalms 112 man. He'll be a man of respect and honored in the community. And that is what you have to speak until you see it. You say it until you see it. You say it until you see it.
That goes not just for your marital relationship, that goes for every relationship, for your children. You can't call your children stupid.
No.
You can't call them dumb. You cannot speak those things over them. Yeah. And unless you expect to, at some point, for them to have the results. And then even the power of believing in faith is believing, even if they are in a situation, or they are. We've talked about this plenty of times, when they may have a gambling problem, they may have an addiction. Yeah. Your child may be on drugs or whatever, but if you start speaking those things, they may not be what they are right now, but they're going to be, because the words have so many power. When you're praying, be like, you know what, my husband is gambling right now, but one day he's going to be not a gambler, but he's going to lead our family in financial success.
Absolutely.
And then speaking that over them is going to also de-stress you, because Carmen said earlier, because what you call your spouse is what you are too. If you're
absolutely,
if you're one, so you better start speaking over both of you. Start believing in that. That will change, because then, as we believe in faith and those things, there's a power in prayer and believing and speaking those things over each other.
Absolutely. Totally was not one of our points, but I just felt like we should have added that, because what you say is really important, and how you speak. So as you're doing things together and giving back together, whether you're working in ministry, whether you work in the soup kitchen, whether you work in giving out masks, or sanitizer, COVID, or whether you box up food and take it to someone, do something together. Do something together. And as you do good things together, as you do charitable and godly things together, it takes away some of your stress, because when you do something good, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel good, and that helps to relieve and get rid of some of that stress. Next is communicate clearly and respectfully. A lot of times we are not heard, or we feel unheard. But a lot of times that's our own fault, because we're not saying what we expect our spouse to read our minds. Our spouses are not mind readers. They are not mind readers, and they cannot read. You look at me like I can read your mind. they're not mind readers. I can't read my husband's mind. You have to tell me what it is. And that goes across the board. That goes across what you want in intimacy, what you want to see in your relationship, what you want to see financially, your goals in your future. The Rover Show, they do a wonderful job, and we're going to have them come back on in the future and talk about setting those goals for your relationship. And our family tries to do that as well. Us with our children, we try to get it together, at the beginning of the year. And we try to talk about what it is we want to see happen in each person's life. And how we as parents, because we feel like as parents, we're platforms. We're platforms for our children to stand and to build on. So we try to get away. We go on a little vacation or get away and blow off some steam. That's why I always say, kids, like their real jobs right now, because they're in school, is being in school. You're in college, that's your real job right now. And we try to do everything we can to help support that. But we get together and say, hey, what can mom and dad do help you to achieve your dreams and your goals? And we try to push them and be there for them to help them get to their next levels. And that helps to take stress off of them and helps to take stress off of us, because you got kids that's not frustrated in trying to find themselves.
And then, with communications, it's just it's a part of, like you said, keeping me in the loop, keeping your spouse in the loop.
Yeah.
Because, you have to understand the trick of the enemy. If something that you are desiring from your spouse and you don't communicate it to, then that's an opportunity for the enemy to present something for you to be a distraction. What was that movie that you liked, and the guy said like good something corrupt his manners or something, and then it was the
he said the scripture, evil communication corrupts good manners.
Evil communicate. I'm trying to think of how, because the opposite of that is if you are communicating outside your marriage with evilly and doing that, then that's going to corrupt everything that God has put before. Absolutely. Because you have to be able, you're talking to the wrong thing. Yep. You're talking to the wrong person. You're communicating outside the will of God.
And that is, you have no idea how many times we have. I have no idea how many times we have. I gotta turn my our light back on. Sorry. Okay. No, we got it. My husband is so high tech. Our lights are on a timer. So, anyways, but you have no idea how many times we have had people to say or do make a bad choice, make a choice. To spend all the money or to go off on their spouse's parent or infidelity. And they say, I don't know why I did that. I don't know why I said that or why I engaged in that. And I don't know what made me do that, because that's not my normal behavior, or I've never done that before. But evil communication does corrupt good manners. And if you are around somebody, like, I don't like to spend a lot of time with people that speak negatively about their spouses. That's not something that I do, because I never speak negative about my husband. You're not going to hear me say anything bad about him, because first of all, if I say something bad about him, I'm saying something bad about myself. So, but I'm going to only speak truth and speak over him goodness, like we just talked about. But if you start, association brings assimilation. You start being with people that are doing those types of things, then those habits can rub off on you. If you start having a conversation with somebody in the workplace of the opposite sex that you should not be really you shouldn't be too common with. You shouldn't be common with anyone when you're married, except for your spouse. That's only in your family. You common with your children, you know what I'm saying, and your spouse. That's it. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else has their level of respect, and then people in the workplace, when church, you deal with them on a distance, and you deal with them on that's one of the things I love about our church. My bishop likes to make sure that people call them, sister this or brother that or elder this or elder that. Don't get too common with me and calling me my first name. You know what I'm saying? And you're of the opposite sex. My name is, Evangelist Watts or Sister Watts or, whatever it is, or Mrs. Watts if you want to, but don't get too common with me, because we're not going to be, and we can be the best of friends. You know what I'm saying? And in certain circles, when my husband's around or whatever, or certain circles, yeah, it's okay. But, keep that level of respect with everybody that you deal with. And so again, communicating clearly with your spouse and with other people will help to eliminate your level of stress.
So one other way, and one really good way of not stressing each other out or having stress not be a part of your relationship is to always tell the truth.
Yep.
That, you know, the truth will set you free.
It will make you free.
It will make you free.
Yes.
But you know what? It's also, you know, especially like, so if we have to deal with like some of our counseling, you know, people have issues like with infidelity, or when there's been a breakdown in communication in the marriage or whatever.
Yeah.
And the hard part of or the breakthrough comes through, like how Carmen says, is you tell the truth even when it hurts.
Yeah.
Because what it's doing is that once you tell the truth, there's no way for you to be isolated.
Right.
You know what? And so a lot of times, so let's deal with men. Let's say if the man is an offender and has stepped outside the marriage, a lot of times the way to redemption is two things: it's spiritual and I guess flesh or whatever. Natural. The truth has to first start with you.
Yes.
Meaning that the only way, because trust, once it's lost, it's hard to really get back.
Yeah.
And it takes effort. And the only way that trust can get back is with truth.
Woo. So
the way that you have to be truthful is that, one, you have to be truthful with yourself and your relationship with Christ.
Yeah.
Because the only way, let's say if I had offended her that way, I can bring you flowers, I can say I'm sorry, I can do all that, which is a good thing for the flesh part.
Sure.
But the truth part, for the spiritual part, is that I have to be right with God. Yeah. Because once you see my relationship, once you see that, along with my sorry, along with my asking for forgiveness, is a prayer life.
Yeah.
Then you're able to trust me a little bit more, because you're able to say, well, if the spiritual side is there, that means the flesh side is being pushed away. So there's less of a chance for him to be a repeat offender.
Yeah.
But a lot of times men don't want to be repeat offenders because they don't deal with the spiritual side first, which is getting the relationship back with God.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't feel like really preaching that.
But you preaching. You sounding good. I ain't saying a word.
You know, but because, and a lot of times then the truth will be, you know what? Okay, well, now I got the spiritual side. Now I got to deal with the flesh side, or the other side mean to gain your trust back, I have to start over.
Yeah. We
have to start at zero again, and I have to start dating, pursuing, and doing all the stuff to gain your trust back. But the truth of it is that most people, and not just men, but let's say the offender, the thing is that they're too lazy to do that.
Yeah, and too ashamed.
Because they don't want to deal with the pressure, because there's going to be a time that, you know, you might be doing whatever, and then 6 months later, the person that you offended, your spouse, might break down in tears one day when you guys watching movies, you know. And the truth of the matter is that there's still a residue effect of the trust being broken. But when you tell the truth, and you tell the truth respectfully, and be like, you know what, I'm here for you even in that time. Yeah. You know, and because I'm sharing that gives the enemy no playing field to come into your marriage to destroy.
And that's a peaceful place. You know, if you are sharing and you're being transparent and you are being honest, and even like somebody said, even if it hurts, it may hurt in the beginning, but what hurts worse if somebody, you know, finds out terrible information from another source, if they don't find out from you, or you know, those things are more hurtful than you trying to keep somebody from, well, I didn't tell the person because I don't want to hurt them. Well, no, you need to hurt them, you know what I'm saying, and tell the truth, and then be open, because that gives you openness and transparency, and it gives you accountability, and then you know, and you are known. But if you always have some kind of secret, or if you always have that part hidden, then you cannot never have true intimacy. Yeah. And if you never have true intimacy, that's going to be stressful at times, because that level, can I trust this person with my whole heart? Can I trust them with my whole self? Even with your children, you got to be able to let your kids tell you anything, whether you like it or not. I can't tell you how many times my boys have come and told me something that I did not want to hear. Like, you said what? Or you went where? You know what I'm saying? But you got to let them do it, so that they can trust you enough to be open and honest. And in that relationship, you always have a prayer life, you always have an inroad with God, and you'll always have that transparency.
Yeah. So in the end, when you're telling the truth in any aspect of your relationship, husband and wife, father, son, um, boss, employee, whenever you don't keep secrets and stuff, it takes the stress out. And that's what we're talking about, removing the stress. So, even when it's difficult, it's better for you and trust, to be able to tell the truth. And because it's going to free up the relationship aspect to where you can't let things come in and build blocks to destroy.
Yeah. And so our next, and we're wrapping up, we're getting down to the end, but the next way to help to alleviate stress or, not being stressed out is hold hands, hug, make out or whatever. And this is especially important for someone whose love language is physical touch. I'm very transparent about my love languages. My first one is help me get something done. Help me do something. That's my first love language is help. But my second one is physical touch. And I think people know that about me because I can go to church and like even now during this COVID, it's so hard for me not to touch people as I'm going down the aisle, touch them. And even, prior to this, even if I didn't like give them a full embrace, so most people I would embrace them. Even when I meet people like clients, I would hug them. Like, I would have talked to them on the phone and I would embrace them and hug them, which some people might think is weird, but I would always end up meeting a hugger and they'd hug me back. No big deal. But I'm a person that touches, even if you just rubbing somebody on the back or whatever, and if they like physical touch, and even if they kind of don't, people like touch and it's soothing, it's relaxing. And it does help alleviate stress. Definitely.
And for real, when you're intimate, it's a great stress reliever.
It is the best stress reliever.
And we can, really get into that. But as far as, because it's not more, it's physical stress you're relieving, but when you get intimate and become one, again, you also can enter that spiritual realm of that. And so anytime that you're in a space that's holy and a place that's spiritual, with Christ, and there is no stress. But and then the natural, let's be real, that God made that portion for you to enjoy.
Absolutely.
He could have just said, okay, you can reproduce, touch 2 fingers, and boom,
slap on the back of the head,
But he made that for married people to enjoy.
Yes.
And that is a way to use it as an intimacy to be a stress reliever.
Absolutely. Certainly a place of peace and tranquility. It should be in a place of enjoyment. And that's what God's design is. But if you have all those other things, then it can be. If you're a place where you tell the truth, you know what I'm saying? If you have a place where, that you are doing things together and you're making that connection together, then of course it is a wonderful place of relaxation and stress relief. Amen, saints. Our next one, I'm sorry, you got something else. Our next one is play to your strengths and to your spouses. So being I guess supportive of another person's strengths. So don't be, if you know that you're not good with numbers, don't be the person that does the numbers. Don't be the person that does the bills. If you can't call people and you got to be the person that got to rob Peter, pay Paul, and put $2 over here and put $3 on the light bill and put $7 on the gas bill. If you are not that person that you don't like to do that, and your spouse is much better, they may not like it, but they're just better at handling that. Let your spouse handle that part. If it's their strength, let them handle what they are strong. If they're strong in the math, they're strong in the managing the money, they're stronger in the numbers, let them handle that. If they're stronger in doing whatever it is with the children, whether it's homework or whatever it is, let them do the things that will stress you out. If that's handling money or counting or doing stuff with your kids, their homework or taking them to certain sporting events, and you don't understand what in the world is going on, let the other person that can do that easier, let them handle it, because that takes some stress and that takes something off your plate that is just a lot. It's just extra. Like, even, when we're studying, we're doing certain things, there's certain parts, dynamics that I handle pretty easily. Maybe if it's studying certain scriptures or doing certain things, those things a lot of times come second nature to me. But when there's times, and you all know, because y'all watched me, when I got to do this and I got to get on this thing by myself and do all the technical stuff, you're not getting no words. Not one word you're gonna get. You're not gonna get play to your strengths. If any words, it's gonna be like, look at this paper. That's your word. Or you're gonna, you're not gonna get the things because that would stress me out. And it does. It just stresses me out to even just get on it. It stresses me out. So that's why I have him.
Yeah. And when you defer, like twice said, deferring to your spouse's strength, it's just a technique, because when you defer to their strength, that means you're not deferring to their weakness.
Right.
And when you defer to your spouse's weakness, that's not a building block. If you're always pointing out the areas that they are not good in, then once again we go back to talking about, how you speak to them and what you're speaking over them.
Yeah.
And so many times you really need to play to their spouse's strengths. Hey, like you said, or you've already said it, if you're dealing with finances and you're like, you know what, honey, you're so good at finding somebody to do our taxes.
Yeah.
And then, if that's the case, you build them up, and then you may have all the information to do the taxes and may be the person that gives the information to the tax person.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that they're always involved by building up their strengths. And when you do that, that leads to all the other things that we talked about: intimacy, communication, all those other skills that are needed to be successful in a relationship.
Absolutely. Because, if you are stressing your spouse out by putting things on them that are stressful, like we said, if it's, if managing the money is more stressful for your spouse, but you're like, oh, well, you manage the money, you pay the bills, you do everything, they're not going to want to be intimate with you. They're not going to want to be, because they're going to be stressed out and they're going to be angry and just like, this is extra and I got to do this. Like, leave me alone. You get on my nerves and you stress me out. You want to say all that even if you don't. You know what I'm saying?
But you said to be honest.
Yes,
tell the truth
in love. You have to tell it in love. So it's the way you say it, thing. But no, you gotta be able to again, play on your spouse's strengths, build them up in the areas where they're strong, and allow them to move in the areas where they're strong. And then don't try to overlap and do everything. Step back, do the things that you're strong in, and in the places where you're weak, kind of share that. And if you're both weak in an area, work together to find somebody else that's strong in that area that can help you both.
That's right.
Yeah.
And our last thing for the evening, we're not going to be, we were a little long, but we hope that you've been enjoying this. So hit those heart buttons if you're liking it. But the last thing is, and this is something that couples learn over time, is to live within your means. Because living outside of your means is probably one of the top two things that put stress in relationships. Money, being probably is a lot of times one or two. Because money problems usually lead to stressful situations. Yeah.
And I kind of want to make that a 2-component thing. You live within your means, but also learn to maybe budget your monies and learn to budget. Because sometimes people are well within their means, but they're not living within their budget. And they have the money is coming in, but they do dumb stuff with their money. So they end up being stressed because they spent money like extra, like, okay, buying a pair of shoes, but you didn't need 10 pairs of shoes. You know what I'm saying? At that particular time, that was like a little excessive. You know what I'm saying? Stop clicking the Amazon thing on your phone. Like, only click it like once this week instead of 5 times. Don't have Christmas every day. So just make better decisions with the finances that you do have.
I said, don't try to keep up with the Watts. No.
What?
We not,
Well, I'll receive it. I'm gonna be last. But
because money issues or money problems are usually, and especially in American marriages, where the chasing the goal of having, the everything. Is what causes people to be stressed out, and because they don't have the financial, I guess, and it's a learned behavior, because you usually, when you're single, you've done it for yourself, and now you got to learn how to do it for your spouse, for your family. Share using all the good things the qualities that,
Mhm.
if you're not a good budget person, either learn how to be or defer to the strength
To
of
versus the
the
strength of the
person that is.
And if you
you
got to,
know.
and if you're one of those people that have to do a stupid purchase every now and then, because sometimes it's okay. Listen, my mother used to say something, and today is actually my mama's birthday. God rest her soul in heaven. Been thinking about her today, but she would say something. She's like, honey, you work every day. Do something for yourself. If you work every day, or whether you work in the home or outside the home, you better do something for yourself sometimes, or that will stress you out. Now, sometimes you need some retail therapy, and that's sometimes what the Watts do. Okay? But do take some time to do something. Take a vacation. If I talk to couples all the time. They're like, my husband and I have not been anywhere. My wife and I have not been anywhere in 2 years or 3 years or 1 year or 7 years or never. Do not do that. Make time to do, and you may not be big travelers, but do something, whether you go downtown in your nearest city and stay at a hotel. Trust me, you will feel like you are not. I've been downtown in Detroit, and I would be like, I felt like I was somewhere completely. Where did you take? You took me to the Shinola for what was that, for
birthday.
For my birthday. And like I woke up and I'm watching TV and I was like watching stuff in Michigan, and like it tripped me out for a minute because I was still in Michigan, and I was like, why am I watching Michigan television? Oh, because I'm still in Michigan. Okay. So those types of things, a lot of times, you can do things that are close and nearby and really still make a staycation out of it. But do things for yourself. Take some time to splurge a little bit. That is, you should do that.
It's
It's
a preventive measure.
It is.
And, you may not be able to go to Tahiti or California or whatever, but going down the street, getting out of the house. Even if
it's a stress relief.
Yeah, it's a stress relief. Even if you had a camper, spending the night in a camper together.
Yeah.
Or
rent one.
Or whatever it is, taking the time. But within your means. And where you're at now is where you should be for your relationship. And that's a problem when you start comparing to other stuff, because and we were joking, Carmen is a good friend of ours, but there was a time where I had to make a decision when I went to work, whether if I had $20 in my pocket, if I was going to give it to my wife to feed my children, or if I was going to eat.
That's real talk.
You don't really know, our story is, from where we are now, what you see is not how we've always been, because things change. You grow, things happen, you do certain things, all those things. God is good. So whatever works for you in your time and your means, that's what you do. And taking the stress out of it means that you don't have to worry about what somebody else is doing.
Absolutely. Just stay with God. Get with God and stay with God. Because when my husband just said that, and we're getting ready to wrap up, when he just said that, that really made me think about God's goodness towards us, and what he said about the $20, that is the absolute truth, the 100% truth. And then I remember there were times when my husband we couldn't afford a crash pad. He was a pilot, a young pilot, couldn't afford a crash pad, so he'd sleep at the airport. And nobody knew he was sleeping at the airport. He'd sleep at the airport, okay, in the crew room. You know what I'm saying? And now, he be staying somewhere everywhere when he goes somewhere, but still, we weren't always there. Stay with God, and God will certainly, he will stay with you. You stay with him, he's gonna stay with you. He's gonna stay with you anyways, but he's gonna bless your life and he's gonna bless your family, but do those things again to, keep the stress low in your life, keep the communication open, share, tell your spouse what it is that you're feeling in a kind way. Don't be accusing and don't be belligerent and telling them that they ain't no good and ain't nobody ain't gonna have no money and you need to go buy me some shoes and all this kind of stuff. Don't do that. Don't do that.
And then the last thing, when we're talking about financial stuff, and this is important, you see a lot of it with couples having separate bank accounts. A lot of times that's not wrong, right? And whatever works for your family works for your family. For us, we have a joint, and then because one fence is that if your spouse has trouble spending a lot, if you're able to monitor, you'd be like, hey, what's this going to, or why'd you make this or whatever? And then that may be a fence to where if you have separate accounts and they're dealing with those issues, might not be able to catch something or
absolutely.
or
And then, you know, when you have that same account, and like I said, this is just for us. We have the same account, you know, we share of like, if we're going to spend over a certain amount, then I'll let my husband know, hey, honey, I'm going to spend this amount. And he'll say, you know, hey, you know, honey, most of the time, sometimes he don't tell me, but we're all right. But still, he'll be like, I'll be like, dude, did you spend this on that? He's like, oh yeah, I forgot. But, you know, prior to this season in our life or this period in our life, we were very, very, you know, strict about making sure that we knew what was going to go out of the account. And again, it's also accountability, which keeps that stress low as well. You know, nobody's spending money on anything stupid or on anybody stupid either. You know what I mean? So,
now the downside of that, sometimes I may not be able to surprise her or stuff, but she don't really monitor, you know, stuff. So, you know, there's whatever works for your family and your household work, that works for us. Yeah. You know, so once again, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Follow us on social media. We're on Wattsup Entertainment on Instagram. We're at Wattsup Entertainment on Facebook. And then we're at Wattsup Video on YouTube. This is episode 62. So we've had a whole mess of topics. Please go back on YouTube and find some of the stuff that may be helpful or share with your friends and family. You know, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Please like and share this video with somebody, or this topic now that you've watched it live with us, that might help somebody that may be dealing with stress, you know, and maybe this will be helpful to them. If not, we will see you guys next week. And will we see them?
We will see them next week. We're
going
out of town.
We're going to do some stress.
We're going to do stress relief.
We're going to have some fun.
Yeah, we're going to go hang out and enjoy one another. And
that's what we like to do. We like to travel.
So we're going to go pray and bless God and have fun.
Yeah, but we appreciate you following and listening. And we hope that it's being a blessing to you. And we will see you guys next week. This has been Frederick and Jean Watts. And this is Love in 60 Seconds.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Well, guys, we have to wrap it up this evening. We really hope that you've enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, this conversation has been amazing, and we want you to tune in again next time so that we can discuss more of these amazing topics and these topics of interest. Then don't forget to DM us, contact us, reach out to us, and we will definitely respond back.
This has been Love in 60 Seconds. Don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
All right. Good night, everybody.
60